The balance of power in Genoa City has officially collapsed. Phyllis Summers and Cane Ashby pull off the unthinkable, a full-scale digital takeover of Newman Enterprises. When Phyllis declares that the company now belongs to them, it marks a historic power shift. Victor Newman is stripped of control, unable to stop the coup that dismantles the empire he built. For the first time in decades, Victor stands powerless. While the corporate world burns, a devastating personal collapse unfolds. Mariah and Tessa reach a breaking point that may be irreversible. Tessa admits she cannot continue living in emotional limbo and takes the painful step of initiating divorce proceedings. Mariah's refusal to open up or communicate becomes the final fracture in a marriage once considered unshakable. The heartbreak deepens when a shocking discovery surfaces. Sharon learns that Mariah has checked herself out of a clinic in Boston and refuses to return home. Mariah is now effectively missing, creating a desperate race fueled by fear, unanswered questions, and mounting emotional stakes for Sharon and the entire family. Meanwhile, Jack returns home with troubling news of his own. The attempted trade involving Matt Clark did not unfold as expected. Jack admits that locating Matt was not even the most shocking part of the night, signaling that the situation has spiraled far beyond predictable negotiations and into uncontrollable digital chaos. The truth behind the takeover soon becomes clear. Cane reveals that the AI software was never just a weapon. It was a Trojan horse. By activating its hidden self-destruct mechanism, Cane hijacks Newman's entire infrastructure instead of merely destroying a program. The move exposes Cane as the true architect of the chaos, proving he outplayed both Victor and Jack from the very beginning. Any sense of relief quickly vanishes for the Abbotts. With the Newmans toppled, Jack and Diane realize they may now be the next targets. Phyllis and Cane have created a ruthless new power alliance that operates without traditional limits or loyalty. Genoa City now faces a dangerous new corporate predator, and Victor Newman has just lost everything, which makes him more dangerous than ever. The young and the restless Newman Enterprises is ours. Phyllis and Cane dethrone Victor plus Mariah missing after Tessa files for divorce. What happens when the unthinkable becomes reality and the most powerful man in Genoa City loses everything? And what if I told you that we're about to witness not just the fall of Victor Newman's empire, but also the complete destruction of one of the show's most beloved couples? Because Phyllis Summers and Cane Ashby have done what no one thought possible. They've staged a digital coup that stripped Victor Newman of his crown. And while that's happening, Mariah and Tessa's marriage is imploding in the most devastating way, with Mariah going missing just as Tessa files for divorce. When I say everything in Genoa City is being turned upside down simultaneously, I mean we're watching the old order collapse and a new terrifying power structure emerge from the chaos. The digital coup. Newman Enterprises is ours. Let's start with the moment that changes everything. The unthinkable has happened. Phyllis Summers and Cane Ashby have successfully staged a digital coup. Phyllis's declaration that Newman Enterprises is ours signals a total power shift in Genoa City that strips Victor Newman of his crown and leaves him powerless to stop the takeover. Think about what that statement means. Newman Enterprises is ours, not we've damaged it or we've hurt Victor's business. Ours. Phyllis and Cane are claiming ownership of Victor's empire. They've used the AI program to hijack the entire company, taking control of systems, assets, and operations in a way that makes them the de facto owners, even if they don't legally hold the title. Victor Newman is being dethroned. Victor, who built his empire from nothing. Victor, who has dominated Genoa City's business world for decades. Victor, who seemed untouchable and invincible. Victor is losing everything to two people he massively underestimated. Phyllis, who he dismissed as a chaos agent, and Cane, who he barely saw as a threat at all. The power shift this represents is seismic. Victor has been the most powerful man in Genoa City for as long as anyone can remember. Victor's influence touched every aspect of a city's business and social life. And now Victor is being reduced to a spectator watching his own empire being seized by his enemies. From Phyllis's perspective, this is the ultimate revenge. Phyllis has been scheming and plotting against Victor for years. Phyllis has wanted to see Victor fall, to watch him suffer, to prove that he's not invincible. And now Phyllis has achieved what seemed impossible. She's taken Newman Enterprises from Victor using his own weapon against him. From Cane's perspective, this is vindication and power after years of being dismissed and underestimated. Cane has been treated as a minor player, as someone not serious enough to worry about. But Cane just proved that underestimating him was Victor's biggest mistake. Cane is now part of the power duo that controls Newman Enterprises. But here's the question that's going to haunt this storyline. Are Phyllis and Cane the heroes for taking down Victor? Or are they the new villains? That's the fascinating ambiguity of this situation. From one perspective, Phyllis and Cane have liberated Genoa City from Victor's tyrannical control. They've ended Victor's reign of corporate terror. They've proven that even the most powerful people can be held accountable. From another perspective, Phyllis and Cane have committed massive crimes. Corporate espionage, theft of technology, hijacking of business systems. They've used methods that are probably illegal and definitely unethical. They've seized control through digital warfare rather than legitimate business competition. And they're now positioned to become the same kind of tyrants Victor was, just with different faces. This is the villain era for Phyllis and Cane. They're the new king and queen of Genoa City, at least in terms of controlling Newman Enterprises. But kings and queens who seize power through coups rarely rule peacefully. The methods you use to gain power often come back to haunt you. The Trojan horse revealed Cane's mastermind play. Now, let's talk about how Phyllis and Cane achieved this impossible victory. This secret weapon is officially active by triggering the built-in self-destruct element in the AI software. Cane hasn't just deleted a program. He has used it to hijack the entire Newman infrastructure. This reveals Cane as a mastermind who is playing both Victor and Jack from the beginning. Cane wasn't just stealing the AI program to use it as a weapon. Cane understood the code well enough to know there was a Trojan horse built into it, a self-destruct mechanism that could be turned into a takeover tool. Think about the technical sophistication required to pull this off. Cane had to understand the AI code at a deep level. Cane had to recognize that this self-destruct wasn't just about destroying the program. It was about giving control to whoever triggered it. Cane had to wait for the perfect moment to activate this mechanism. And Cane had to do all of this while making everyone think he was just a depressed divorce being manipulated by Phyllis. This Trojan horse approach is brilliant, because nobody saw it coming. Victor thought he controlled the AI program. Jack thought trading Matt Clark for the program's destruction would neutralize the threat. Neither of them understood that Cane had already figured out how to weaponize the program's own safeguards against Victor. Cane was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Cane was thinking multiple moves ahead. Cane positioned himself as useful to both Jack and Phyllis while secretly planning his own endgame. And now Cane has emerged as the technical mastermind behind the digital coup that's reshaping Genoa City's power structure. The question becomes, was Cane always planning this level of takeover, or did his plan evolve as opportunities presented themselves? Was Cane working toward total corporate domination from the beginning? Or did he start with smaller goals that grew more ambitious as he realized what was possible? Either way, Cane has proven himself to be one of the most dangerous players Genoa City has ever seen. Not because Cane uses violence or intimidation like Victor does, but because Cane uses technology and intelligence to achieve what brute force never could, total control of an empire that seemed untouchable. Jack's failed diplomacy when negotiations become catastrophe. While Phyllis and Cane are celebrating their coup, Jack Abbott is dealing with the aftermath of his own failed strategy. Jack returns to Diane with an ominous update. The trade for Matt Clark didn't go as planned. Jack's admission that finding Matt wasn't even the craziest part of the night suggests that the corporate warfare has escalated far beyond simple negotiations into a state of unpredictable digital anarchy. Think about what Jack is saying here. Jack went into a negotiation with Victor expecting to trade Matt for the AI program's destruction. That negotiation was supposed to be the climax of the conflict. But Jack is telling Diane that finding Matt, which should have been the main event, wasn't even the craziest part of what happened. What could be crazier than finally capturing Matt Clark, the man who terrorized Sharon and attacked Nick? What could overshadow that dramatic confrontation? The answer: watching Newman Enterprises fall to a digital coup while Jack was trying to negotiate peace. Jack's not exactly response when Diane asks how things went reveals how thoroughly Jack's plan failed. Jack didn't get the AI program destroyed. Jack didn't neutralize the threat to Jabal. Jack didn't secure peace between the Newmans and Abbots. Instead, Jack witnessed the beginning of a new war that makes the Newman conflict look quaint by comparison. Jack's failed diplomacy represents the end of traditional power structures in Genoa City. Jack tried to solve this problem the old-fashioned way through negotiation, compromise, and deals between powerful men. But that approach is obsolete in the age of digital warfare. You can negotiate with people who can simply take what they want using technology you don't understand. The new common enemy: when your enemies fall becomes your problem. Jack and Diane's initial relief over Victor's downfall is short-lived. They're quickly facing a terrifying realization. If Phyllis and Cane could topple the Newmans, the Abbots are the only targets left. The duo's sneaky alliance has created a new corporate predator that doesn't play by the old rules. This is the moment when Jack and Diane understand that Victor losing wasn't a victory for them. It was a warning. If Newman Enterprises can be seized this easily, if Victor Newman can be dethroned by a digital attack, then Jabo is equally vulnerable. In fact, Jabal might be more vulnerable because the Abbots don't have Victor's resources or ruthlessness. The new common enemy situation creates a fascinating dynamic. Jack and Victor have been enemies for decades. They've fought countless business wars. They've hated each other with an intensity that seemed unbreakable, but now they face a shared threat that dwarfs their personal rivalry. Phyllis and Cane are the new corporate predators, and they don't play by the old rules. They don't respect legacy or tradition. They don't negotiate or compromise. They just take what they want using methods that the old guard can't counter. And that makes them more dangerous than Victor and Jack ever each other. Jack and Diane are going to have to make a choice. Do they try to defend Jabal alone, or do they reach out to Victor and propose an alliance against their common enemies? Neither option is appealing. Going it alone means facing Phyllis and Cane without the resources or expertise to counter their digital weapons. Aligning with Victor means swallowing decades of pride and trusting the man who has tried to destroy them. But here's the brutal reality. Jack might not have a choice. If Jack wants to save Jabal, Jack might need Victor's help. And Victor, stripped of his empire and looking for revenge, might be willing to partner with his old enemy to destroy the new threat. The enemy of my enemy becomes my ally, at least temporarily. Jack and Victor teaming up against Phyllis and Cane would be one of the most unlikely alliances in Genoa City history. But desperate times create strange bedfellows. Victor's vengeance arc, the most dangerous man in Genoa City. Now, let's talk about what happens when you strip Victor Newman of everything he's built. Victor is most dangerous when he has nothing to lose. The next chapter of this storyline is Victor's vengeance arc. Victor Newman with no empire to protect, no rules to follow, and no limits on what he's willing to do to destroy the people who took everything from him. Think about what drives Victor at his core. Victor's identity is wrapped up in Newman Enterprises. Victor's sense of self-worth comes from building and controlling his empire. Victor's power in Genoa City stems from his business dominance. Strip all of that away, and what's left is raw rage and desire for revenge. Victor, without his empire, is like a caged lion, incredibly dangerous and willing to do anything to regain freedom and dominance. Victor doesn't know how to exist without power. Victor doesn't have a peaceful retirement plan where he accepts defeat gracefully. Victor only knows how to fight, and Victor is about to fight with everything he has left. Victor's vengeance is going to be brutal because Victor has nothing to lose anymore. Victor doesn't have to worry about protecting Newman Enterprises' reputation. Phyllis and Cane took that from him. Victor doesn't have to worry about legal consequences. Victor is already destroyed. So what more can they do to him? Victor can be as ruthless and extreme as he wants because there are no longer any constraints on his behavior. Phyllis and Cane are celebrating their victory, but they're underestimating what's coming. They think dethroning Victor means Victor is defeated, but defeating Victor and destroying Victor are very different things. Victor is still alive. Victor still has intelligence, connections, and decades of experience fighting corporate wars. And Victor now has unlimited motivation to destroy Phyllis and Cane regardless of the cost. Victor's vengeance arc is going to be the story of a man rebuilding from nothing specifically to destroy his enemies. Victor is going to use every dirty trick he knows. Victor is going to call in every favor. Victor is going to operate outside the law if necessary. Because for Victor, this isn't just about business anymore. This is personal. This is about pride and identity and revenge. The Tyria collapse, a marriage in ruins. Now, let's shift to the personal devastation happening simultaneously with the corporate chaos. The fan-favorite super couple, Mariah and Tyria, is reaching a devastating breaking point. Tessa admits she can't keep doing this and initiates divorce proceedings, citing Mariah's refusal to communicate as the final nail in the coffin. "I can't keep doing this" is one of the saddest phrases a person can say in a relationship. It means Tessa has reached her limit. Tessa has tried everything she can think of to save their marriage. Tessa has been patient, supportive, understanding, but Tessa has finally accepted that she can't fix this by herself. If Mariah won't communicate, won't engage, won't work on their relationship, then there's no relationship left to save. Tessa initiating divorce proceedings is her act of self-preservation. Tessa is choosing herself over continuing to fight for a marriage that Mariah has already checked out of emotionally. Tessa is recognizing that sometimes love isn't enough. You also need communication, effort, and mutual commitment to make a marriage work. Mariah's refusal to communicate is the final nail in the coffin for their relationship. Mariah has shut Tessa out. Mariah isn't sharing her feelings, her struggles, her plans. Mariah is isolating herself and pushing Tessa away. And Tessa has finally accepted that she can't force Mariah to let her in. For fans who have loved Tyria as a couple, this divorce is heartbreaking. Mariah and Tessa represented hope and love overcoming obstacles. They fought so hard to be together. They built a family with Arya. They seemed like one of the show's most solid couples, and now it's all falling apart in the most painful way. Mariah missing the AWOL mystery. Adding a layer of mystery to the heartbreak, Sharon learns that Mariah has checked herself out of a Boston clinic and is refusing to return home. This missing person element creates frantic news stakes for Sharon, who is now dealing with a fractured family and a daughter on the run. So Mariah isn't just refusing to communicate with Tessa. Mariah has literally fled. Mariah checked herself out of the facility where she was supposedly getting treatment for her mental health issues. And Mariah is somewhere unknown, refusing to come home, cutting off contact with her family. This creates a "where is Mariah" mystery that's going to dominate storylines. Sharon is going to be desperate to find her daughter. Sharon is going to be worried that Mariah is in danger, that Mariah's mental health is deteriorating, that something terrible might happen to Mariah while she's out there alone. Why did Mariah flee the Boston clinic? Maybe Mariah felt like the treatment wasn't helping. Maybe Mariah couldn't handle being institutionalized. Maybe Mariah had some kind of realization or breakdown that convinced her she needed to run. Maybe Ian Ward's influence, real or hallucinated, is telling Mariah to flee, to hide, to pursue some destiny that requires her to be away from her family. Where is Mariah hiding? Is Mariah in Boston still just checked out of the clinic and living somewhere in the city? Has Mariah traveled somewhere else entirely? Is Mariah with someone, or is she completely alone? These are the questions that are going to torment Sharon and drive the search. The theory crafting potential here is enormous. Fans are going to speculate about whether Mariah is planning something dangerous, like the Dominic kidnapping we know is coming. Whether Mariah is being influenced or manipulated by someone. Whether Mariah is experiencing psychotic episodes that make her believe she needs to hide. Whether Mariah is running from something or running toward something. Sharon is dealing with a fractured family on multiple fronts. Sharon has been supporting Nick through his medical crisis. Sharon has been dealing with trauma from Matt Clark, and now Sharon is facing the reality that her daughter has disappeared and might be in serious danger. Sharon is going to mobilize everyone she can to find Mariah. Sharon is going to be calling hospitals, checking with Mariah's friends, maybe even hiring private investigators. Sharon is going to be living in constant fear that the next call is going to be news that something terrible happened to Mariah. The bigger picture, total systemic collapse. What we're witnessing is not just one crisis or one power shift. We're watching multiple systems collapse simultaneously. The corporate system, Newman Enterprises, has fallen to a digital coup. The old rules of business competition no longer apply. Technology has become the ultimate weapon. And whoever controls the best technology controls everything. The marriage system, Tyria, one of the show's most beloved couples, is disintegrating. Love isn't enough to save a marriage when communication breaks down and mental illness creates unbridgeable distance. The family system Mariah has fled, cutting herself off from Sharon and the rest of her family. The bonds that are supposed to hold families together are breaking under the pressure of mental health crisis and personal trauma. The power system, Victor Newman, is dethroned. The man who seemed untouchable has been stripped of his empire. The hierarchy of Genoa City is being completely rewritten with Phyllis&Cane at the top. Everything is falling apart at once and nobody knows how to fix it because the problems are too big, too complex, too interconnected to solve with traditional approaches. Looking forward, the new world order. By the time this storyline resolves, Genoa City is going to be fundamentally different. The power structure will be rewritten. Victor will either be restored to power or permanently diminished. Phyllis&Cane will either cement their position as the new rulers or be destroyed by the forces they unleashed. Jack and the Abbots will either successfully defend Jabao or fall the same way Newman Enterprises fell. The choice Jack makes, fight alone or ally with Victor, will determine the Abbott family's future. Mariah will either be found and get help or spiral further into crisis with devastating consequences. Tessa will either get closure through divorce or be pulled back into chaos trying to save Mariah one more time. And the question of whether Phyllis&Cane are heroes or villains will be answered by how they use their power. Do they create something better than Victor's empire? Or do they become the same tyrants with different faces? So, here's what we need to be watching for. Does Victor find a way to fight back against Phyllis&Cane? Or is his empire truly lost? Does Jack ally with Victor against their common enemies? Where is Mariah? And what is she planning? Does Tessa's divorce go through? Or does something stop it? And most importantly, what kind of rulers will Phyllis&Cane be now that they control Newman Enterprises? What do you think? Are Phyllis&Cane heroes for dethroning Victor? Or are they the new villains of Genoa City? Where do you think Mariah is hiding?
And why?
And can Victor Newman really come back from losing everything? Or is this the end of his reign? Drop your theories in the comments because this storyline is rewriting everything we know about power in Genoa City. If you want updates on Victor's vengeance arc, the search for Mariah, and whether Phyllis&Cane can hold on to their stolen empire, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. And if you're interested in deep dives on corporate warfare, relationship breakdowns, or character analysis of what drives people to extremes, check out the video popping up on your screen right now. The old order is dead, and we're watching the chaotic birth of something new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.